Hare Krishna. So, I wanted to thank the management of BBT Africa for presenting this conference, and also to all the participants, the Maharajas, Prabhus and Maharajis, and respected guests. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, is part of his original 7 purposes of ISKCON, number 7 actually, with a view toward achieving the aforementioned purposes, the previous 6, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books, and other writings. With that in mind, he established the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust in the 1970s. As with many activities that Srila Prabhupada directed his early disciples, we had little idea the scope to which his order would grow. That the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, established in July 1966 in a small storefront on the Lower East Side of New York City, would grow to a federation of 650 plus temples, farms, restaurants, etc. Spread and continuing to spread all over the world. That the BBT, which grew from ISKCON Press, starting from mimeographed and stapled sheets of Back to Godhead magazine, has seen the distribution of nearly 600 million pieces of literature, from glossy, informative Back to Godhead magazines to large, beautifully illustrated volumes. That a few acres of quiet land in the remote Nadia district of Bengal would grow into a bustling area with a towering Adbhuta Mandir nearing completion, and so many other occurrences. Topic given to me was the art of book distribution, the ABCs of book distribution. So there are many ABCs. And of course, His Grace Vaishesika Prabhu, he has literally written the book on the great art of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. And I encourage everyone, how many people have that book? Ooh. Governor Prabhu, how many do you have in stock? I encourage you, young and old, get that book, and you will have the ABCs for your whole life, practically speaking. So Vaishesika Prabhu, he gives, your sadhana must be strong, A. B, get books. C, the more you show, the more you sell. And D, you must organize. So art is defined in various ways, but I chose to indicate creativeness and skill. I'd like to relate an incident that occurred in 1974 in Washington, D.C., or more accurately, Ocean City, Maryland. The D.C. temple had been blessed by the association of the BBT distribution party, traveling book distribution party. And a few of the devotees had been selected to accompany one of their distributors to a holiday resort to distribute books, to be trained in book distribution. So as young devotees, we all wanted to increase our abilities to distribute. We wanted to become more successful book distributors. And we appreciated the opportunity to have the guidance of a person who Srila Prabhupada had called the incarnation of book distribution, His Grace Tripurari Prabhu. So we were continually pressing him about what did he say, what did he do to get people to take the books. We had what we called a mantra. A mantra we would give people. Hey, where you from? How you doing? We're passing these out, like that. So we want to know, how do you do this? How do you get the people to stop? And eventually he replied that the best mantra is a strong morning program. And he left it at that. So His Grace Nanda Kumar Prabhu will elaborate on that later. After we took prasad, we were out on the boardwalk, and I was trying to be as friendly and cordial as possible. I might get a person to stop, A. Give them the book, B. Give them some information about the book to want them to have it, C. And, of course, ask for a donation. But they always said, oh, sorry, I don't have any money with me. Oh, I'm just on the way to the bank. I'll be back. Like that. This went on continuously. And it was the middle of the month. Nobody had any money. So I became a little dejected. But then I happened to turn around, and 20 steps past me, Tripurari Prabhu stopped the same person who I just stopped. Same person. And this person is throwing money out of his pockets. I mean, you just don't see that in the material world. But he was throwing money out. And he had just told me that he didn't have any. So with myself, this person had a stronger desire to keep his money for sense gratification than I had a desire for him to take the book. So when we say art as creativeness or skill, we mean continuous practice and training. It's not something developed haphazardly without clear direction and goals. Srila Prabhupada also mentioned organization and intelligence. Individually, there's no substitute for sincerity. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana. We have to constantly remind ourselves, or be reminded, which His Grace Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu will do, that spreading Krishna consciousness means book distribution. And as Brajbasi Prabhu has presented, the transcendental potency of Srila Prabhupada's words in his books, his instructions, along with the misery of the material existence, and how we make great advancement not by pleasing ourselves, but by pleasing the previous acharyas. That book distribution, being a spiritual activity, requires spiritual consciousness, tempered with humility, tolerance, and a willingness to undergo many difficulties, but gives in return the highest happiness. That we are doing what we are meant to be doing. If we want to inspire and cultivate the spirit of Sankirtan, then we have to make it our priority. It has to be a priority. We can see how Sri Sri Radharanath Temple is making great strides in distribution of books because of the Sankirtan festivals that His Grace has organized. So during the last, it was mentioned as well, during the last two South African National Council meetings, the senior devotees also went out on book distribution. And it was very enlivening. I think many of us, myself included, hadn't been out for some time. Yes, I see a smile or two. But it was very blissful. It was very blissful. We had decided we were going to do it. We were in the association of our God brothers. We had committed to do it, and it was done. And just for a couple hours, wasn't a marathon, but it was blissful. It was blissful because we felt in our hearts we were doing what we should be doing. So that's Srila Prabhupada's very kindness. There's another ABC, if you like, that these books are authorized. They're authorized. It's Srila Prabhupada and all the previous acharyas have contributed and established that distribution of transcendental literature is, we had a kirtan here, it's the big mridanga, brihad mridanga. Be bold. Krishna consciousness is a pushing movement. In America, there's a magazine called Mad Magazine. I don't know if you've heard. Anyone? Okay. So back in the 70s even, there was a cartoon about the Hare Krishnas. And it showed the strips. There were maybe 4 strips. First strip showed this smallish navy. I think it was navy because it was whitish clothes. Walking around, walking down the street. Next slide shows big devotee. Brahmananda Prabhu-sized devotee. Next slide shows big Brahmananda devotee offering the book to this sailor like that. And you see the devotee is pointing and the service person is going like this. Next slide, big cloud. Big cloud. There's hands, legs, feet going out. One hand has a book. There's foot going out. Next, final slide, you see the devotee walking away, counting bills. And you see the service person with the book in his throat. So they showed this cartoon to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said, yes, this is a pushing movement. So Srila Prabhupada, by our endeavors, he will be pleased. The people who will receive these books, they'll be placed on the path back home, back to Godhead, and we will also be completely satisfied. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you very much.